All right, so you're interested in Kamala Harris, huh? Specifically, how this whole Promise of America idea played into her campaign. Great topic. We're going to dig into that today using this episode of Coffee Talk with Kirsten Torres as our starting point.
Yeah,
And don't worry, we won't get lost in the weeds of every single policy point.
right. The big picture is what we're after here.
Exactly. The overarching narrative, the themes, and particularly how it all ties back to this Promise of America.
Sounds good.
But before we even go there, maybe we should define what that phrase even means. The Promise of America. What does it signify, and why do you think it was so central to Harris's campaign?
Okay, so the promise of America, it's this powerful idea, right? It's the idea that in America, it doesn't matter where you come from, your background, you can achieve success, build a good life. Hard work, determination, those are the keys.
Opportunity for everyone.
Upward mobility.
Exactly. A fair shot at achieving your dreams. It's a
Got it.
powerful message. And that resonates with Harris's own story, don't you think? I mean, daughter of immigrants, Indian and Jamaican, works her way up to become a presidential nominee. Seems like the embodiment of that promise.
Absolutely. And I think that resonated with a lot of people, especially immigrant families. Seeing that reflected back, it's their story too.
Right, seeing those struggles, those aspirations.
But, and this is important, Harris's message wasn't just about individual striving. It wasn't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It was about how America should work for everyone.
And that's where her policy positions come in, right? The episode mentions her focus on opportunity, making it more accessible, which honestly sounds like every campaign ever. So how did that translate to concrete ideas for Harris?
Well, look at her time as Attorney General in California. She wasn't just interested in punishment. She was really into criminal justice reform, rehabilitation, advocating for those who were wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, there's that line in the podcast about preservation of the rights of people who have been wrongfully convicted. Pretty powerful stuff.
Right. It shows you her commitment to fairness, to making sure everyone, even those failed by the system, get a fair shake.
It almost sounds like those AG experiences, they were kind of setting the stage for her presidential run. You think that's accurate?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It gave her that firsthand experience, seeing the shortcomings, the cracks in the system, and it probably fueled that desire to create a more just, more equitable society.
So transitioning from AG to the presidential campaign, she's pushing for things like Medicare for All, the Green New Deal. In your view, how do those policies reflect her attempt to make good on that promise of America, especially for those who feel left behind?
Well, you could say those policies represent a more progressive approach, right?
Right.
Take Medicare for all, universal health care, everyone has access regardless of income. That ties into the idea of a level playing field. Everyone deserves a chance at a healthy, productive life.
Hmm.
And the Green New Deal, it's about jobs, clean energy, but it's also about a sustainable future for everyone.
So it's about more than just economic opportunity. It's about creating a society, a system where everyone has the essentials to thrive.
Exactly. And it's not just about handouts either. It's about empowering people, giving them the tools they need to reach their full potential.
Which is where things like education, voting rights, support for marginalized
Oh,
communities.
well, that comes in, yeah.
And the podcast really emphasizes that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With that line, everyone's voice must be heard.
Yes, and that's a crucial part of the promise of America, right? It's not just about economic success. It's about having a voice, participating in democracy, shaping your own future.
And you can't talk about Kamala Harris without talking about racial justice. Being the first woman of color as a major party's VP nominee, she brought a unique perspective.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just symbolic. Her call for systemic change, that wasn't just the slogan. It came from a deep understanding of how systems, institutions can perpetuate inequality.
And her support for the Black Lives Matter movement just underscores that commitment to addressing racial injustice.
Yes, exactly.
So let's recap. We've gone from her personal story, this embodiment of the promise of America, to her career, fighting for reform and justice, and finally to her policies, trying to make that promise a reality.
It's a powerful trajectory.
It really is. And it leads us to a pretty crucial question. Has America lived up to its promise?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think for many, especially those in marginalized communities, the answer is no. That promise remains unfulfilled.
It's something to think about, isn't it? And not just in the abstract, but in our daily lives. What can we do as individuals, as a society, to make that promise a reality for everyone?
It's a question worth wrestling with.
Definitely. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.